We're here at CinemaSalem with Brian Gordon, who is installing his current exhibition, The Life of Brian's, which he'll be sharing with Brian Donnelly. And we're going to take a look at some of his work, some of his collages, and some of his other stuff that he's putting up here. Brian, you want to explain what this exhibit is?
Well, first, I wasn't sure if we were going to call it that, because I texted Brian today and I said, hey, we should call the show The Life of Brian's. And then I didn't hear from him for 2 hours. It was really funny to me. But I stuck with it. I was like, fuck it, I'll fight him on that. Like, that will be the title. Because it's not often that I try to be so clever, but not everybody loves Monty Python, so maybe not everybody would get it, but they'd be like, I don't get it. And then like, at least on a literal level, they'd be like, oh yeah, there are 2 Brians.
Here's Brian explaining the first piece.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. I just picked this up at the Framer today, but essentially, these are all collage pieces. That the show is all collage. And I have been making stationery for about 17 years, like envelopes that started out as just simple things from brown bags from the supermarket that no bells or whistles, and then slowly I just started to get like crazy with them, where they were like rotating pieces and pop-ups and like naked women jumping out of them and stuff. It was really, really amazing. That one is not as hard as you think to pull off. And I started to burn out because they were becoming very geometric. So I started doing collage, and they just started growing. So what you see basically are these larger pieces that they just couldn't be contained in an envelope anymore. So, and I just, I have rules. Like I need to use vintage material. And so all of these things come from magazines. They weren't printed out on the web. And for me, that's kind of fun because within that structure, there's a lot of freedom to just run around and find as many old magazines as I can, so I have a legitimate reason to go to flea markets and antique stores and stuff. And usually if you have a purpose, you feel more comfortable, at least I do. So this piece, yeah.
Well, what did you find here? Is there anything in this that you found in a particular magazine or anything you want to point out?
I've been waiting since May to use Barbarella. She's on the cover of a Life magazine, and she has the first bare boobs I ever saw. My dad had cable back in the early 80s, and Barbarella came on, and there was Jane Fonda floating in that, I don't know if you remember this spaceship in the beginning of the movie where they go through the little porthole windows, and the spaceship's basically just one big furry bed, and it was amazing, really. So I put her in there. I just think that was the Jane Fonda workout for me. Anyway, and so I wanted to use that and this big tree I've been waiting to use for about a year. That came out of National Geographic. Like, talk about a centerfold. National Geographic has, I think, the most amazing centerfolds. You pull it out, and some of them are as big as this piece. And this tree, which I cut down, was probably as long as the entire piece. And if you zoom in, you can see there's a dude. This is a real picture of a tree. This is a redwood. He's actually like standing in the tree. And so I basically start out with a couple of things that anchor the piece for me, and then I just build out from there. So, and I guess that's what I like the most about it is it's fun, and there's always something new to see.
How about this next piece here? What is this one called?
This one's called Fade's Triple Axle. For you Dune fans out there, this is Fade is the character played by Sting, who gets brutally offed by Kyle MacLachlan's character Paul Moadib at the end of the movie. And there's tons of Dune references in here. There's conjoined twins, because I love conjoined twins, and I'm obsessed with figure skaters in the pieces. They're in that piece there. They're in almost every piece because, for whatever reason, I think that it brings about motion. I think when you see a figure skater flying through the air, it creates motion in the piece. And then this crazy flying machine. Like, I couldn't wait to use that. But essentially, the purpose of this this work, which I also use in my professional life too, is to expand the process of how people associate detail.
And your professional life being working with children with autism.
With autism and social emotional deficit, because a lot of kids and individuals in general who are very linear thinkers have trouble associating random detail. There's no gray area. So I use this as a tool. So think about it this way: who you are, Nick, and you, Lily. That's Lily over there. Hi, Lily. Who you are is based on the way that you uniquely associate detail in the world. So, for instance, when you hear "Welcome to the Jungle" by Guns N' Roses, do you think about losing a tennis match where you were up, you won the first set 6-1, and you were down, you should have won the match, and the kid that you were a doubles partner with wouldn't play with you again. And that's the song that was playing in his car before we got to the match, and I could never listen to it again. Do you have that association to that song?
No, to that song I have an association of sitting at the cafeteria hanging out with the metalhead kids.
Okay, so that's your association to that piece of detail. So who we are is based on the way that each of us uniquely associates detail in the world. And for anyone, I would assume that you want to always be expanding the way that you can relate items. So for some kids where things just don't make sense, like having, Bugs Bunny. What is he doing with the people from the Disney movie Bed Knobs and Broomsticks, or Linus from the Peanuts? And you can say, well, he's in a picture, like they're all hanging out. So you can't debate the fact that there's a coherent composition here. And what that does is allow kids to be able to see a larger narrative in life. And so it plants a seed for them, actually, I guess, how do you say it? Having fun doing like the necessary, challenging detective work to figure out how everything relates. So and that helps with problem solving. A lot of the kids that I work with, they melt down really quick. And when things are frustrating to them, there's very little space between what happens and how they deal with it. It's just kind of instantaneous. But if they begin to see that there might be a reason for it other than what they think it is, and it's worth doing that, based on the fact that they're making more associative attributions. Did I just say associative attributions?
Yes.
Then the quality of their life will improve because they're not having as many meltdowns. So, in essence, like, all these pieces are just ways for me to find as many things that never belonged together before and put them together in a painting-like form where they work together, basically. There's a I have titles for these, but I bet you people could have a bunch of different stories by looking at it, and I guess that's the point. I want people to look at this stuff and have fun looking at it and try to figure out what the hell's going on.
You also have some book carvings. We take a look at one or two of those.
Yeah. Come on, Lily. Lily's
again,
my buddy. Lily and I went to the same college, but we didn't know it. And so we have sort of very similar association because of we went to Skid Row College in Saratoga Springs. Okay, so these are my new pieces, and they're really very labor intensive, but totally cool. I mean, absolutely irreverent. I took this old encyclopedia of the Bible, which I thought was really cool. If you zoom in, it's got just the coolest cover. You can see it's got they look like locks and hinges and things. And then what I do is I go through the entire book, and keeping the book intact, I carve away everything that I don't want, so that what you get is this three-dimensional piece of art, this diorama. And then, so it's sort of a way of reading the book visually. So you're still actually gaining a definition of the book, just not in the way that it was intended by actually reading it. So I guess that's kind of irreverent that now, I'm sorry, the only thing you're going to be able to read is meat offering, mediator, and medicine. Right in there. And then I took all these things again that didn't belong there and just kind of had that infiltrate that narrative. So here's the Encyclopedia of the Bible, and now there's two bees mating, and Don Quixote's horse Rocinante jumping out, probably eyeing somebody who's going to be standing over there in about 2 days. And the Lone Ranger. I don't know if you've ever tried one of those masks on, but the rubber band breaks immediately. I don't know how he kept his identity a secret.
And how long is this? This is running starting December 1st and through the end of the month at CinemaSalem?
Yeah, it's running from, all the month of December at CinemaSalem, which, I mean, they're so great to be able to have the art here. And I love the cinema in general. I don't know if do you know that they give $1,000 away every month?
Yep, in grants to different locals.
They do that. I mean, they had a mini internship and let our kids see movies for free this summer for the summer camp that I ran. I would be sad if this place ever closed. That's all I'm saying, because they really are, I think, a huge part of like positive culture on the North Shore, and they're being very, very, very gracious to allow me to show my my work.
And it's cinemasalem.com if you want to find out more about the venue. And is there any place people can go to find out more about your work?
Well, at the moment I'm having a website built. It's almost done. So you can see some of my collage on my Facebook if you Facebook me, Brian Gordon, although there are a lot of Brians. Pardon? Oh yeah! That's right. If you do a Google search and you type in Art Throb, which is an online magazine for, basically it's the pulse of the North Shore, everything that you want to know that's going on, all about local artists, all about local events. Just basically, if you were wondering what kind of stuff's going on under the surface here, you can go there. And Lily wrote an article about the collages that I did for an exhibit that happened in July. And so if you Google Art Throb, collage, and Brian Gordon, you'll come up with that article. And from there, you can check out the rest of the Art Throb website.
Great. And when is your site going to be up, and what's that going to be going to be called, just so people can look for it in the future?
I would assume that within the next probably month it'll be up.
Okay. And what's the URL for that going to be?
I'm pretty sure that it's going to be... What is it going to be? That's a good question. This guy's building it for me. If you go to bsgsociallearning.com, there'll be a link to the art site. So,
okay. Well, thank you very much. If people look for that, look for you on Facebook, and come on down to CinemaSalem for, what's the exhibit again?
This one's called The Life of Brians.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.